folks, welcome back to the podcast. Today, I wanted to go through kind of a summary of the racing season so far. It's just February, it's early in the year, a lot of things go on, it's hard to pay attention, always pay attention year round, but I want to go through it and kind of see what it means for the future, for the big races of the year, for the big names. What's everybody doing, and does it matter at all? Sponsor for this episode is Bombas. Now, I listen to podcasts, I'd heard that Bombas is like a sock brand. Every sock you buy, they donate a sock, and I didn't really think much more about it. And then for Christmas, I got like a little gift back from Whoop. There's all kinds of stuff, and including these slippers. I brought them to Hawaii. I brought them in the airplane. I don't want to wear sneakers on a flight. These are really nice to throw on in the backpack for after my rides. Then I was cruising around the hotel with these, and they had this like volcanic rock. I was kind of like hiking in these things to get to some sea turtles. And then I looked down and realized that they were Bombas. I didn't know they did anything other than socks. So when they hit me up to sponsor, what I got was some underwear, and you'll thank me for not modeling it for you. But just like the slippers, I've been super happy. We've got soft, breathable fabrics for a snug fit, no riding up. The waistband's right. It's just soft, quality, comfortable. And then t-shirt, kind of the same. I'm really a t-shirt kind of guy. When I go out to dinner, like even when I'm dressing up, a t-shirt's the best you're gonna get out of me. They make nice, comfy, soft t-shirts, perfect for that. One purchase is one donation. Feel good and do good with Bombas. New customers get 20% off. Go to bombas.com/PhilGuyman or use code PhilGuyman at checkout. We're just back from Hawaii. That video went really well. Appreciate everyone watching that. I was super happy how that came out. The only thing I kind of left out of the video, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about here, was we stayed at the Hilton Resort. I just wanted to book something easy. I wanted to book just low maintenance, Airbnb, there's a little process. There's always someone you got to talk to. I was there with Emily, so like staying by the beach made sense. So I didn't put enough thought into it. This is how I learned, by trial and error, mostly error. And what we booked was the Hilton, which to me, I thought was going to be, okay, you check in, you get your card, you check out. I didn't realize it was the Hilton Resort. So you get there and it's like, this place is like Disneyland. The price was reasonable too. It was kind of like a little bit less than an Airbnb. It's like $220 a night, something like that, which is pretty good for a nice, classy part of Hawaii. And then parking is $48 a night. Didn't say that online. That wasn't clear. And then you get there and like you check in, you take a tram to one of the 17 towers. That's exaggerated, but barely. There's a lot of towers, a lot of real estate up there. My point is, to get to your car that you just spent $50 a day to park, you now have to traverse, like, I'm not even joking, like a 15, 20-minute walk with your bike, with your bags, whatever. Like if you just want to go out for coffee, if you want to go off campus, if you will. So what happens is they've got you kidnapped, you're captive, where basically every meal, everything you purchase is going to be on their site. And it was all good. So it was frustrating for a few days. I was like, man, I want to experience real Hawaii, damn it. I want to get out. And we did some rides. We saw some stuff. We drove one day out there into Kona. We saw the things. But when you're staying there, Hilton here is the same as Hilton there. And then the thing is, everything on the campus was nice. Like I said in the Mauna Kea episode, if you go there, stay in Kona, stay on the other side of Kona. There's like some cool kind of jungle-y stuff over there. Stay in Waimea. There's lots of places, or even like Waikoloa Village is just 7-8 miles up the hill, and it's kind of a town. You can walk to a couple shops. That was where I stayed last time. I kind of actually couldn't find a hotel last time, and I was forced to stay there. Didn't realize how much better it was going to be than the hotels down below. And resorts make sense for families. I guess you have a lot of points. You can do that. It's easier with kids. Emily and I, we're just not the resort type people at this point. So the whole time was a little bit of a drag, and I was kind of like, here, Conrad Hilton, just take my credit card and do what you will, and I'm going to make sure I enjoy it. And then the last day, we're sitting there and like got back from the volcano climb, had a pizza, and then we're just sitting on the hotel watching the sunset, and there's like whales jumping, and you're seeing the little flippers or whatever. And I was like, you know what? Nice job, Hilton. Nice. Nice job, Conrad. Because that dude must have collected those, I don't know, like 70 of them all over the world. There's this incredible, like, here's Hawaii. Here's the most beautiful spot there. And they're going to charge you out the butt, but like, it's going to be nice. It's going to be real nice. So that was that experience. You live and learn. You live and learn. That was the edit out of the Hawaii thing, was my cathartic complaint about hotels. Or back home, catching up on work, sleep, rest, stuff like that. I'm quite exhausted from riding 5 hours up a hill 1.5 times. And then a red eye. It's not good for the body. Not good for the body. Don't have to do it. Look, I don't have to do it as much as these guys in the pros like I used to. We're going to go through that now. So it used to be the season would start with, there was kind of a block in South America, the Tour of San Luis, very close to my heart, near and dear to me. You could sort of choose between that and sort of a desert campaign for the classics guys, and then a Tour Down Under for the Aussies would want to sort of do their home race. Now there is no more South America block, which is a bummer. South America is awesome. So they do the Tour Down Under, and then they go to the Middle East. It's a weird time of year because who's on form and who really wants to be on form. So you kind of get these guys who are more the lieutenants in the summer are like, okay, here's my chance to win something now before I'm just bottle boy. So Jay Vine is the example. Jay Vine for UAE won the Tour Down Under. That'll probably be his first and last chance to be in charge this year, but he's going to take a back seat at some point. Prologue was won by Sam Watson on Ineos. Stage 1, Decathlon, Tobias Lund Andresen. Jay Vine won the third stage. We got Sam Welsford from Ineos, stage 3. Ethan Vernon, NSN No Longer Israel, stage 4. And then Matthew Brennan from Visma Lease Bike won the last stage. I guess Brennan was kind of the revelation of the race, sort of a coming out for him, if you will. Also coming out of nowhere was a Kangaroo, managed to go right after the race leader like Jumbo-Visma was paying him. Kangaroo knocked over Jay Vine, broke Jay's wrist. Kangaroo, broken leg. No one asked really what happened after that. Like, that Kangaroo is either going to die or they're going to hopefully they put him down. So it goes from like, that's funny to that's sad real quick. It's still, I feel bad for the Kangaroo, but they're not like endangered down there. There's plenty of kangaroos. It'd be a different thing if it was, it's not an endangered species, put it that way. It was weird that the Kangaroo had an Opie Omi sign. And then the women's tour down under, I just had to call the director for Human Powered Health, one of the women's world tour teams, because I was confused. They had a 3-stage stage race. So stage 1 and 2 was won by Ali Wallison from FDJ. Stage 3 and the GC went to Naomi Rugg on EF. But I was confused because I know that Maggie Cole-Leister from Human Powered Health won a stage, and that was super exciting. I met her last fall. She came to my cookie fondo. Maggie was great. So I was like fact-checking the various cycling news sites. So there's the Women's Tour Down Under stage race, which is a 3-day race. And they have a 1-day race after that. That's the one that Maggie won. And then there's also the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Race, which is another 1-day race right after that. So it's a good Australia block, but change the names a little bit more. I mean, the Cadel one's fine, but there's 2, whatever. Congrats to Maggie and everyone else. Okay, next we have the Volta Comunitat Valenciana. So we're on like the east coast of Spain. Now that sounds super nice. Sounds like you want to go vacation there on the beach. You probably do, but also Spain, you could get rained on. You could get some weird weather this time of year. So that race isn't the quite vacation race it sounds like. Looked like it went well though this year. First stage to Biniam Girmay from the NSN Not Israel Pro Cycling Team. Individual time trial, easily won by Remco. Stage 3, a controversial, shouldn't have been stage win by AJ August from Ineos Grenadiers. I just rode with him a couple months ago in LA, super nice guy. More on that in a different video. I'm gonna have to dive into more race tactics because some folks just don't get it. That kind of inspired me. I've got notes on that one. Stage 4, Remco solo win. Stage 5, Raul Garcia Pierna from Movistar GC very easily to Remco. Okay, Women's UAE Tour. Interesting place to be a woman. We'll get more to that. First 3 stages went to Lorena Wiebes from SD Works. Final stage and overall to Elisa Longo Borghini of the UAE team. Got to win your home race. The UAE Tour reminds me, a lot of folks have asked. I mentioned I would do an episode on sport washing. I'm actually just like reading or listening to a couple books while I train to do that. I'd like to find an expert to talk about it, but there aren't a lot of experts in cycling. I don't know. It's a complicated subject, obviously, but I just looked up UAE Tour and women's rights in UAE. So it's interesting. So significant advancements the last few years. There's constitutional guarantees offer equal access to education, jobs, government roles, legal reforms for equal pay and family law. We don't even have that here, equal pay. There's lots of women in higher education, 70% of university graduates, economic empowerment. Women hold 50% of parliamentary seats in UAE. We don't have that either. 2020 amendment removed obligation for wives to obey husbands. So that's 5 years old, it's a little fresh. So personal status laws, there's Sharia-based law will require male guardian consent for marriage and can disadvantage women in divorce. Domestic violence laws have historically permitted chastisement within limits of Islamic law, with marital rape is not criminalized. Kafala system, migrant women face exploitation and lack protection under labor laws. So, some good, some not. A little work to do over there. So on the one hand, when you look at women participating and riding, competing in that race, is it, they're validating this, government that allows abuse of women. On the other hand, they're also advancing the status of women by competing and wearing their team clothes. And I don't know, it's complicated. I guess that's where we're at with the sport washing conversation. But I've now presented both sides of that. The men's UAE Tour comes in a couple weeks. Not sure why they did that. The men, in the meantime, are racing the Tour of Oman. I'll get to that in the next video. Other notable news so far this year, Egan Bernal won the Colombian Road Race Championship. I just like to see him do anything successful. He had such a terrible crash Ineos stood by him. They could have let him go. It took him years to come back. You know, he won the Tour one time. It's hard to come back to that to begin with. But resilience by that man. I love Colombia. I'm a fan of him. I'm also a fan of George Bennett, won the New Zealand Road Race Championship. Always forget he's not Australian. And then Jonas Vingegaard had to pull out of his first couple races. He crashed. The story was, and it was posted from the fans first, that he was trying to get away. There were a couple fans following him on a bike ride, and I don't know if they wanted a selfie, or it seemed like he just wasn't feeling like he wanted to chat and decided to get away from them on a downhill by ripping the downhill, and he messed that up, crashed on his face. They slowed down to check on him, and he was like, no, get out of here, leave me alone. I think he's fine, but enough that they're keeping him out of a race or two. A lot of feelings and thoughts on that. One, just like, I don't know, just smile, take the picture, be like, hey, nice to see you guys. Like, you're famous enough that you've just got to learn how to handle that by now. And it's not always fun. And I'm certainly not that famous. I have, like, on the day of my cookie fondo, everybody wants a selfie with me. It's my cookie fondo. It's exhausting. Everybody wants something. But here's the thing. It's not that hard, and you just do it. You just have to do it. You know, he gets it more often than I do, but you're on a training ride. It's just part of it. Congratulations, you make a bunch of money because people watch you, and now they want to do whatever. So however he handled it, obviously he didn't handle it right. But, you know, you can put a foot down and be like, hey, let's do a picture, or catch up to me later. I'm not sure exactly what you should do. I know you don't do is try to drop anyone on descent, because just pros all descend carefully unless they're in the race getting paid for it. Ripping a descent is just a bad precedent, because then the guy might even chase you. Just a lot of things could go wrong, and they did. So hopefully, I mean, obviously he's learned a lesson, but there's a lot of like, tisk fans, leave riders alone. I get that too, because, you know, LeBron can go lock himself up somewhere and have a closed practice session. And unless you're Jonas Abrahamson and you just love riding on Zwift for 6 hours a day, that's not an option for pro cyclists. They've got to exist in the world. But yeah, tough. He made a mistake. Bummer to see him pay that hard for it. At least he didn't break anything, but not a great start of the year for him, I would say, physically or like emotionally, socially. It's just not how you want to get into the season. The other news of this year is the dominance of Remco. Is Remco going to take on Tadej at the Tour? I have thoughts on that too. Of course, Remco, I think, believes that, or has to believe that, pretend that he can believe that. Tadej isn't even racing yet. Tadej is training. In my experience, every rider is different. For me, I would always do best, like, send me to altitude for 3 weeks and I'll be flying week 4. That's what I can do. Some guys like to race into shape. Some guys need that intensity to race into shape. So they would need a heavier training program. If you look at Tadej's race program last year, he had shockingly few races. It was just like the top tier. You know, back in the day, it used to be like, you do the Dauphiné to prepare for the Tour. You do, you know, they would have like Contador would be racing one-day races in Mallorca in February. And that was just for race days, and maybe like, you know, probably the teams got appearance money for something like that. But now it's a lot more, and I think part of that is the risk of the more races you do, the more chances you could crash and just derail your whole season. So I think Tadej's careful with that. If he's going to crash, it's going to be at Roubaix off Van der Poel's wheel. It's not going to be at some 2.2 nobody cares about if he wins or not. And all he can do is lose at those things. So he gets to do his training, he's going to control his effort. And meanwhile, Remco is out there. I don't think Tadej's sitting at home watching Remco win, thinking like, oh crap, I'm in trouble in a few months. I think he's looking at it, and I think Remco maybe low-key knows it too, of I'm going to rack up some wins while I can until Big Brother comes back from college and beats the crap out of me again. I'm going to bully all the kids while it's available, and then I'm going to have to knock it off and sit down for a while. I think he's racking up the wins while he can. And honestly, like, if anything, I think it's going to fatigue him for later in the year. I think every race block you have takes a little bit out of you, and a few more things you can't control. You're not controlling your nutrition as well, or your recovery. Whereas Tadej just sitting there and he's like, I'm here now. I'm training. I'm here now. He's not going to get sick. He's not going to get injured. He's just on top. And you know, he's just doing his work too. He's doing his workouts. He's doing his training. I think he's going to be just fine. So let's not overreact to January, February Remco results. Okay, that's my summary of the road racing season so far. Next, I'm going to do, it already ended, but I don't pay enough attention to other disciplines. So we're going to do a cyclocross one. Next episode of the podcast, we're going to do a full cyclocross recap with a guest. Very excited for that one. I will see you then. Thank you.